Hey guys, welcome to another Ultimate Edge webinar series. I'm really excited about this one. You know what, TJ? I don't know that I told you in our prior conversation, we just closed yesterday on a loan with a person who used the HomeLight product, and it went smooth as silk. It was good.
Well, that's great to hear. Hopefully,
Yep,
the client had an easy transition.
that it worked out. So we're interviewing TJ. Pronounce your last name again for me, TJ, so I get it right, please.
It's Narkhede, Tejas Narkhede, but TJ is easiest. So
Yeah, TJ's easiest. TJ, I've known each other for a month or two or three now, a little while, because we've been exploring this program called HomeLight, and I'm going to let him describe what it does for you. But it's a great program if you have a home, you want to buy a home, and that current home we call your departing residence is causing you problems, and maybe you don't have enough down payment because all your equity is in your home, or maybe you don't satisfy the debt to income ratio because if you have that home and you got a mortgage there, it causes problem for your debt ratio. Well, there's a solution here that TJ is going to talk to us about. And with that, TJ, I'll let you dive in and go ahead and show us what we have going here for the HomeLight program.
yeah, absolutely. I will share my screen and kind of walk through a few slides, um, and feel free to stop me as we. I've been at HomeLight a little over 5 years, and we've had many iterations to try and solve the issue when someone owns a home and they're trying to buy another. That can be a little bit of a complicated process. So we created a product and we got creative with the title. Here's an option to buy first and sell later.
We like
So,
it.
yeah, a common issue that comes up is clients, somebody can't qualify to carry their existing home while buying another home at the same time. And they've got a bunch of equity tied up in their current property, but they need to get it out to use towards that new purchase. So, we're going to combat both of those issues so it's a seamless transition from one house to the home they want. That way, they can sell their old home vacant and prepped right for a successful sale. So, I mean, ultimately, it's going to do three main things. One, when you're looking to make an offer on your next property, you can remove your pending sale contingency, which is going to make for a stronger offer. Most sellers don't want to wait for your current home to sell, makes it look like a little bit riskier. So when you don't have this contingency in your offer, you don't have to overpay on the house you want, maybe even be able to negotiate the price a little bit. So how you can go about removing the sale contingency is a combination of two main things. One is a 0% interest bridge loan. We call it an equity unlock, but essentially you're borrowing money from some of the equity you already have in your current house and you're not accruing interest or making payments on that money borrowed. And you can use those funds towards the new purchase, whether that be for the down payment or other items like closing costs and even things outside of the actual transaction. You can use some of these funds to pay for things like moving expenses, um, storage costs, any kind of listing prep work to get your old house ready for the sale. You have flexibility. So think of it as a way that, hey, you've got equity in your house, you're going to borrow some of those funds and use it however you need to make that move. And ultimately, to help you qualify for that new purchase, alongside this bridge loan, we place an all cash offer on your current property. And really, the goal there is not to buy the house. Realistically, we don't want to buy the house. But having an offer in place without any contingencies attached to it allows you to qualify for the next home because the loan officer no longer needs to calculate all of the payments, the interest, the taxes of that old home into your debt to income ratio. So you got to make sure your debt to income ratio is at a sufficient level to get new financing, and this backup cash offer is really just designed to help solve that factor. So I'll walk through a sample transaction so you kind of see how it works. Step one, you always want to get approved. Your loan officer will help you through this process, but this is what's going to lay out exactly how much money is available. Usually you can borrow up to around 70% of the value of your current home minus what's owed on it. So if you had a $500,000 property, you owe $250 on it, you're going to be able to borrow about $100,000. And when you're getting approved, you're really just making it an option. You're not committing to anything. It's just something you can stick in your back pocket. So if you find the house you really want and you want to put in a strong offer on that, you can start shopping without that sale contingency. and use this if you need it. If you don't need it, you're obviously not obligated to it, and you're not going to owe any fees. But ideally, right, when you make that offer, you can buy the house you want before having to deal with kind of the headache of listing your current home, dealing with showings, having people in and out of the property while you live there. So this is going to help you get that offer accepted, and then your loan officer will work with us to make sure that the money is basically ready to go and distributed. So when it comes time to close on the new house, you'll have the money in the escrow account, you can close smoothly. And we can do this pretty quickly, about 2 to 3 weeks, and it's all going to work with your normal mortgage financing timelines. So if you were buying, say you're moving up a little bit from a $500K home to a $600,000 property, now you don't need to bring $100,000 for your down payment. You've got your equity bridge loan to be used as that down payment, and then you would finance the rest. Obviously, the numbers will be different in any scenario, but at this point, you bought your new house, you can move into it on your timeline. The only thing we ask is that you list your old home within 3 weeks. So 21 days after you buy the new home, we want you to get your old home prepped and on the market ready to be sold. And you're going to work with your preferred real estate agent. We don't want to get involved. You use who you trust to sell that house, and you go about trying to sell it just like you normally would. Now, whenever that home is sold, that's when the program fee comes out. So there is a transaction fee. It's a program cost that's similar to a commission, but it's 2.4% of the sale price of your current home whenever it ends up selling on the open market. So that program fee will be paid out at the very end of the day. There's no cost up front, but it will come out of the final sale proceeds. And I can go into how you can actually offset that 2.4% program fee in just a bit here. But I also want to touch on our backup cash offer. Right? Most people will look at us as an iBuyer, a company that's an investor. They're trying to buy your house and keep your equity. But that is just not the case. If we buy the home, we're only buying it after 120 days. So you buy the new home. If you can't sell your old home in those 4 months, we're going to buy your home just to pay it off. We're going to pay off the mortgage or any other liens associated with that property, so you no longer have to worry about that mortgage payment. And at that point, we're going to relist the home again with your same preferred real estate agent and continue trying to sell it, trying to get it sold at top dollar. Whenever it sells, any upside from that market sale, basically the difference between what we bought it for and what it sold for, is returned back to the current owner. So we're not keeping the equity. It's going back to the client. And if you look at this compared to a traditional transaction, if you sell your house, you have to wait till it closes sale and then you get all the equity out in one check. All we're doing is splitting that one check up into two. So we're getting you an advance in one check when you buy the new house. And then when your current home sells on the open market, whether that's before or after HomeLight has to buy it, you're getting the second check for the remaining of that equity. So it's always protected. So when it comes to getting approved, it's pretty straightforward and it's a pretty quick turnaround time. But step one, you got to make sure we'll work with the house. We're not going to approve every home. We have a 24-hour turnaround, but we need 2 items. One, your loan officer at Bay Equity is going to submit a quick questionnaire. It's really basic information about the address, estimated value, what's left on the mortgage. So that's going to help us determine how much money we can actually pull out and make available to you. Once that questionnaire is completed, the loan officer gets a link to upload photos, and they'll most often forward it to either the homeowner or the listing agent so we can see what that property actually looks like. Once we have both those 2 items within 24 hours, we're going to have that approval that goes back to you, and it'll let you know exactly what the numbers are and reiterate all the details of the program, including that upside guarantee. So you stay protected in the event you do use it. Even if HomeLight buys the house, your money's still safe and sound. We're available in most states. It's easier to talk about where we're not. New York, Alaska, and Massachusetts. If your current home is in one of those states, you can't use this program, but if you're anywhere else in the country, this is fair game. And then I'm not going to go over all of these kind of property requirements, but to touch on some of the, I guess, big ones, we're only going to be able to work if your current home is a single family, a townhome, or a condo. And you're only going to be able to see the DTI benefit to help you qualify for that new purchase if you buy conventional. So any kind of government loans will not be applicable. In those cases, we can do a bridge loan, but you got to qualify for both homes. And a lot of people are worried at the photo submission part. You know, we understand your home's not going to be 100% list ready, right? You might want to do some painting or light remodeling or some cosmetic updates before you list it for sale, and that's perfectly fine. We're not looking at any of that, but we do require an inspection to be done to make sure that there's no major issues with the property. So if there's a crumbling foundation or structural issues, it's not something we may be able to approve. And so we will pay for an inspection up front to make sure that there's no big ticket items. Whether you want a copy of that report or not, it's up to you, but we can provide that to you if you want to help use it to help with your listing when it does come time to sell. And when it comes to actually listing your house, for clients, for homeowners, most people don't want the headache, really, the stress of having to stay in a home while it's being listed. So it's perfectly fine if they wait to list after they buy the next home, but others might have a home that's listed already. It might be on the market for 30 or 45 days, and then you found the house that you really want. That's perfectly fine as well. The only restriction is if it's been listed for over 5 months consecutively over the last year, it's not going to be eligible. So we'll look at all the expected listing days on market, what comparables are looking like, all at approval. And again, within a day, 2 days max, we're going to let you know whether or not your property will work and how much money you can pull out. At that point, no risk, just an option. Use it if you need it. So these are frequently asked questions. One is the program cost. Like I mentioned, it's 2.4% of the sale price of that departing home. There is a minimum fee of $9,000. So if that old home sells for less than $375,000, the program fee is $9,000. And why would you pay that, right? You're already paying agent commissions and closing costs, just like a normal sale. Why would you pay an additional 2.4? Well, the reality is you have to look at it compared to the alternatives. You can try and make your offers with the home sale contingency, but in a lot of cases, sellers won't accept that unless you're paying at or you're paying more than what they're asking for the house. So what ends up happening is you pay more than what you could have gotten away with had your offer been stronger without that sale contingency. But even if you then have that offer accepted, you have to sell your house. You're living in it, so there might be limited showing availability and it might not show as well, just given all of your stuff is in the house, right? You might have kids, you might have pets. It becomes harder to show a home and it's less available to see. Plus, you've got maybe 30 days to sell. So if it doesn't go into contract in that first week or two, you're in a bit of a scramble because you need to close on the next home. So what a lot of people end up doing is price reductions. How do you sell a home quickly? You drop the price. So a real estate agent will often say, hey, let's do a 10K, let's do a 20K price reduction so that more buyers get interested in this house and we can sell it in time to close the next one. But if you think about that from the big picture, you might have overpaid on the house you wanted and then you basically fire sold your house just so you could get into that one that you had made an offer on. The combination of those two factors is typically well over what 2.4% would have been. And each market's a little bit different, but the industry stat shows that homes that are listed from day one, vacant, prepped right, and staged, they sell for 3 to 5% higher than homes that have other people already living in them. So if you could just sell your home for 3% more than what you would have gotten by trying to sell it quickly while you're living there, you made the program fee back, plus you made some money on top. There's a couple different ways to look at it, but all in all, you can offset the cost of the program itself by buying for less and selling for more. Now, We've talked about the program fee, 2.4%. There are two or three smaller items. One is we are doing a bridge loan. You're borrowing money and we need to close on that bridge loan. So we have a mobile notary go out for you to sign docs. There's recording and settlement costs. So you can expect about $300 to $400 in settlement. And then we do pay for an inspection up front. Now, if you use the program, the cost of that inspection will come out of the final sale proceeds along with settlement and that 2.4% fee. If you don't use the program, well, we'll go our separate ways. Yeah. Now, what can that equity unlock be used for? I mentioned the bulk of it should go towards the down payment on the house you want. But if you need some funds to help cover closing costs or paying down debt to qualify, it has flexibility to be used in those kinds of things. And you want some money for things like listing prep work, getting your old house ready, paying off some of those contractors, or paying some of the movers to get your stuff into the new house. We can provide a chunk of it as a cash overage. That way you have most of the money going towards your house, and then you get some extra cash that you keep on hand and use it however you want. We've had someone buy dance lessons. At the end of the day, it's your money, it's your equity, use it as you need it. A lot of people want to know, what's the backup cash offer? I mentioned earlier, our goal isn't to buy the house, and we're not keeping your equity if we end up doing it. But our backup cash offer is just enough to pay that house off. So we call it the loan payoff value, and basically it's whatever's left on the mortgage balance plus whatever you borrowed in the bridge loan. We're going to clear all those debts from the property. That way, when it sells, any upside from that sale will go right back to you. And that's the number one question from clients, from agents. What happens, right? If the home sells, or if the home doesn't sell in 120 days and then HomeLight buys the house? Well, to reiterate, all we're going to do is take over ownership, relist it with the same listing agent, and continue trying to sell it. We want that home to sell for as much money as possible, primarily because our program fee is based on that final sale price. The agent also wants it to sell for as much as possible because that's what agent commissions are based on as well. And I hope you want it to sell for as much because ultimately that's the client's equity. That's your equity that you're getting out when it sells. So all of our goals are aligned to get it sold. But the reality is it's pretty rare that we end up purchasing a home. We actually buy around 1% of properties because at step one in approval, we look at homes. Homes are expected to take a really long time to sell, then we likely won't approve it to begin with. So if your house is approved for the program, great, you should have a pretty successful sale. In the 1% of cases that life happens and the home doesn't sell, well, you're going to get your equity whenever it does sell, whether that's 5 months down the road or a year down the road. Equity is protected indefinitely. That covers most of it. Now, I will just drop this little tidbit in here. There's an option for people who can't qualify for their next house, but they have the money to buy it. So if you have the money to put as a down payment on the new property, but you still need our backup cash offer just to solve the DTI problem so you can qualify for that next purchase, we'll reduce the program fee. We won't do a bridge loan, but we'll charge 1.5% of the final sale, or $7,000 minimum, instead of that 2.4 or 9K. So if you find yourself in a place where you just can't qualify, but you've got the money, here's a way to still buy the house you want now without the sale contingency and avoid trying to move twice. Because that is another option, right? Some people will try and sell first. But if you try and sell first, then you got to find somewhere to live. Can't be homeless, so you either have to settle, basically find another house to purchase, might not be the one you really like, then you're moving again in a year, or you move twice. You pay for rent, maybe it's a short-term rental, but then you've got monthly rent costs. You're paying for moving expenses into the rental and into the new house, paying for storage expenses for all the stuff you can't be moving. And all of those costs added up, plus all the headache, it's usually around what that 2.4% would have been, if not more. But then you had to live out of a suitcase, and nobody really likes to move twice. So Yeah, bring your own cash. We'll still solve those other items. Full buy before you sell will be the bridge loan that's going to make for that seamless transition. So, any questions?
Very good, TJ. Good overview of that. I want to mention to our webinar audience, if you do have questions, go ahead and put those in the chat box and we'll be able to see them and ask TJ the questions. I have a couple for you, TJ. I want to summarize things as well here. So, guys, to be real clear here, you won't be dealing with HomeLight directly. You're going to be dealing with the loan officer and their processing team that deal with that. We interact with HomeLight for this. We just closed on a transaction. I was telling TJ at the very beginning of the webinar here, it closed yesterday, so that's how recent it has been, with a client that used HomeLight. In their particular case, they did not need the down payment, but they had a mortgage on their home, and the seller of the property they were going to buy would not accept a contingent offer, and they didn't really want to mess with that anyway. So they used HomeLight. And as TJ clearly explained there, when we get a non-contingent offer on the departing residence, Fannie Mae, conventional loans only, will allow us to remove that payment from the debt to income ratio. That's just one of the guidelines, which is why this program works so well. And we're able to do that. And they purchased the home, they had their own down payment, but they wouldn't been able to do it with both mortgages in the debt ratio. So it worked really, really well. And it was very smooth. The clients were really, really happy at the end, TJ. I wanted to let you know that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's summarize this for different groups of people here, TJ. Yeah, first of all, our audience may be real estate agents. So if you're a real estate agent and you were chatting with them at the Starbucks buying a cup of tea, and they just wanted you to summarize the benefits to the real estate agent of using the HomeLight program along with their loan officer, what would you say the benefits are for the real estate agent?
Yeah, the benefits are twofold for agents. For buyer's agents, nobody loves to go around doing a bunch of showings on houses and getting their offers rejected because of a sale contingency. So when your client wants to make an offer, you want to make sure that's the strongest and best offer they can. The best way to do that is to remove that sale contingency and come in with a strong down payment. Sellers like that, that's going to help that offer win the bid, especially if there's multiple people interested or that seller is just pretty hesitant to wait around for you to sell their old house. But as a listing agent, the benefits kind of they incrementally get bigger, right? One, you want your client's home to have the best showing experience from day one, and you want it to be available to show at all out hours. So when your client's in the house, it's a little bit harder to get other folks in there. You're basically telling the client to get out of the home so people can see it. So you might only have availability on weekends where when they're buy before you selling, they're out of the house. You can show that home anytime, and you can get that home prepped right. If the client wants to do some painting, maybe some light remodeling, some touch-up work to get that home ready for the listing, they probably don't want to do that work while they're living in there. Nobody wants a contractor in their house, but this gives them the opportunity to be out of the house, lets them draw from their equity to pay for some of that work to be done, and it's going to get that home ready to sell for top dollar. And typically, like I mentioned, homes that sell vacant and prepped right from day one, they sell faster, they sell for more money. If you can sell the home quickly, your client's going to be happy. If you can sell it for more money, your client's going to be happy, and your commission's based on that final sale. So you can get that home sold more effectively. Now, when you have that listing, you'll also get offers that sometimes have a sale contingency, and they might come in higher than what you were expecting because of that contingency. And when that number looks good, you can tell your seller, hey, here's an offer, they've got this contingency. What do you think about the number on it? And if the seller likes the number, you go back to that buyer and say, hey, look, we like the number, but you need to get rid of the sale contingency so we can close this deal a little quicker. Contact this loan officer at Bay Equity. They'll be able to help you remove that sale contingency. And then you made an offer that wasn't attractive to the seller, more attractive that they'll take it so you can sell that house. So at the end of the day, it comes down to helping you sell that home for more money, removing the headache and hassle for your clients. And then if you're representing them when they're purchasing, not spending your whole day driving around doing showings with not the greatest offers.
Very good. All right, Holly is a real estate agent and she has a question. Holly, I'm going to try to unmute you here, see if I can do that. Can you hear me, Holly? Are you unmuted? Maybe so. Let me try this. Allow mic. Let me try this. Holly, can you hear me now? One more time. We should be able to hear you, Holly. Yep, go ahead and type your question, Holly. I can see you typing, so go ahead and type it in there, and we'll ask TJ to answer it for you. TJ, while Holly's typing that question in, so that's the advantage to the real estate agent. Now, you summarized it really well, I think, but let's go ahead and just summarize it fairly quickly. For the move up, move down buyer, someone who owns real estate, wants to purchase that home, and they have an issue because they own the house, their equity's tied up, whatever. Just summarize once again for us, what are the benefits for that buyer to use HomeLight?
Yeah. You can avoid a double move. So it's going to allow you the flexibility to buy the house you want with a good offer and move into it one time, and then worry about selling your house afterwards. You're going to avoid the headache of trying to sell your house first. Because when you're living in a home and somebody's trying to do a showing, most often you need to get out of the house. You got to clean it up a little bit so it looks pretty nice. And you're basically coordinating all that while you're dealing with your normal life. So instead of trying to do them simultaneously, you're going to remove the headache, you're going to remove the stress, and on the back end, from a numbers perspective, you'll be able to buy for less and sell for more, because you'll have a stronger offer. So you won't have to overpay on the home that you're looking at. And then when it comes to selling, getting it listed the right way from day one, homes usually sell 3 to 5% higher than they have people living in it.
That's really a significant point, guys, to understand that it really doesn't cost you anything, given that the data supports, your sale supports the data that TJ is talking about, which is you're going to get more for your house when you sell it because it's a vacant house, and you're going to be able to purchase the home you want for less money because you're making a non-contingent offer. So the program pays for itself. And just so you know, we do have go ahead, TJ.
I piggyback on that. I use a conservative estimate of 3 to 5% higher. Each market's going to be a little bit different, but if you Google that question, some markets sell 10 to 20% higher when they're listed right.
Yeah, there you go. There are other bridge loan products on the market, and we do use them. I will tell you that just the simplistic comparison is if you qualify for HomeLight, which is 70% of your home, it works with the mortgage you have there. It is the least expensive and the smoothest program I know that we have, and I've done both. So I really highly recommend HomeLight as long as it works for you. Holly type, can you closed on the loan yesterday? Are you referring to the new house? Yeah, Holly. So we had some clients had a home, still have that home, as a matter of fact. They maybe just recently listed it, if even now. But we got the offer from HomeLight on that which allowed us to move forward with their purchase loan on the home they were buying. They closed within 30 days, and it just closed yesterday, and they're very happy because they're able to do this particular program to do it. So TJ, investors, we have a lot of those in our client database, and they're wondering right now, can an investor use HomeLight if they have an investment property and they wanted to buy another investment property? Does it work there?
It does to an extent. The DTI benefit, helping qualify for that new purchase, is not applicable to investment properties. That's really only tied from a primary residence moving into another primary. So if you just need the funds for the down payment to get into that next property, then it can work. But from a qualification standpoint, you would need to qualify to carry both homes in your DTI. We can still do the bridge loan. There's still flexibility in the funds, how that money is used in that new purchase. But when dealing with investment homes, they do need to be vacant in order for us to fund. So all we're doing is basically getting you money out of one property at 0% interest with no monthly payments, letting you use that money to buy the next one.
And I think we asked this question of the HomeLight program when we first got introduced to it, but I don't remember the answer. So we know this works with conventional loans and Fannie Mae because of the guideline they have there that allows it to work. in the non-QM arena, like DSCR loans, you may be familiar with, TJ, or bank statement loans. So those are not Fannie Mae loans. Can an investor use HomeLight there to get funds out of the home?
It's up to the lender. I know Bay Equity can use this for jumbo products, and I've seen it work with bank statement loans. But it's at the end of the day, it's up to the lender providing the loan product. We know it works across the board with conventional loans, but some jumbo or some other loan products will have overlays outside of Fannie Freddie guidelines that don't allow that DTI benefit. So if they can qualify to carry both homes, it can work if they're trying to buy FHA or with other products. I wouldn't try it with VA, period. But when you're looking at any other financing, you'll need to check with the lender basically to make sure that DTI benefit is applicable.
So you kind of answered, and I know my creative investors are already asking this question, but I think you kind of answered it. So if they have an investment property and it's got a mortgage on it, one way we can handle that mortgage, guys, is if you rent the investment property, we get a lease agreement and we can show that it's going to be rented. That covers that mortgage and allows you potentially to move forward without that whole mortgage in your debt ratio. So TJ, I know the creative ones are saying, well, can I do HomeLight along with a lease agreement and make that combination work together? Can I get the HomeLight loan for the down payment and get a lease from somebody who's going to rent the home and eliminate the mortgage from the debt ratio with that?
No, because we need that home to be vacant when we fund. And the reason is getting that home vacant is going to allow that showing flexibility, and it's going to make it more likely for that home to sell quickly for top dollar. You've got a tenant in there, it's much harder to sell a house. It's going to sit longer indefinitely. So no. If the tenant wasn't there and somehow you got them qualified, then yes, but not with a tenant in place.
There you go. And Holly wants to ask clarification on the VA and FHA land. So if you have a VA and FHA loan on your departing residence and you want to use a VA or an FHA loan on a home you're buying, is there any combination there that would be acceptable and HomeLight might work for the client?
It's acceptable to purchase conventional if you have an FHA or a VA loan. Now, you can't be buying with a VA loan. One, when you're going from VA to VA, you need bonus entitlement. VA requires 6 months reserves, and they need to qualify for both houses. Plus, VA underwriters are not going to like it. So don't try to purchase VA, but you can go from a VA home to a conventional, and you can go from an FHA to a conventional. If you have a conventional in your current house and you're trying to buy FHA, in theory, we can still make this work, and we've done those deals, but the client would need to qualify to carry both the new home purchase and the existing one. Plus, they need a 620 credit score. 620 is the minimum credit score for this bridge loan. There's no other qualification from an income perspective. But if they can do it, then we can do our end. Again, we're providing a bridge loan at 0% interest.
Right. So to summarize, just to keep this in mind, guys, you need to have enough equity in your departing residence, the one you're living in now and going to sell eventually to buy the new one, so that you have 30% equity, so that 70% loan to value, which is the maximum HomeLight's going to go on the home, will be able to cover that mortgage in any case, whether you're buying with conventional or any other kind of mortgage. If you want to eliminate the mortgage payment on the departing residence from the debt ratio, you must be buying the new home with a conventional loan, because Fannie Mae allows that. Government loans, FHA, you wouldn't use VA typically ever because they're zero down anyway. And there's some eligibility requirements that TJ was mentioning there. And FHA is not going to let you remove the other payment, the current home's down mortgage payment from the debt ratio, but it will allow you to tap equity in the home as long as you have 30% equity or more. That summarize it, TJ?
That summarizes it, and the 30% equity piece has a caveat, because if you have between 15 to 20% equity and you have other assets, we might be able to provide a solution. Basically, we need to see you have other liquidatable funds, and then we can increase how much we let you borrow, with the assumption that, hey, if you can't sell your home to pay us back, sell your home for enough to pay us back, then you'll liquidate some of those other assets. So
I'm glad you mentioned that. I forgot about that. That's a good point to know. Thanks.
We call it equity boost, but really it's case by case. We got to see our baseline numbers and then see how much more we can get you. So baseline numbers will always be at 70%. Then let's see what we can do if you need a little bit more.
Fair enough. Great program, guys. Thanks for the presentation, TJ. I really appreciate it. As TJ is kind of alluding to there, and we're chatting at the end here, everybody's situation is unique and different. So if you think you qualify for this particular program and this strategy works for you, reach out to your loan officer. In our case, of course, reach out to us and we're happy to chat with you. You're not going to be talking to TJ. He's our guy. We get to talk to him. If we have questions, he's the guy we call. You won't be interacting. Your agent will be interacting with some people from HomeLight. Your agent is going to be listing your current home because they're going to get the offer from HomeLight and all of that. But that's about it. You won't be chatting with them. You'll be chatting all the way with us. We like to keep it simple that way anyway. I don't see any other questions in the chat box. Any parting comments, TJ, for today? Thanks for your time and great job in the presentation.
Yeah, I appreciate you letting me join. Like I said, if there's any questions, reach out to your loan officer at Bay Equity. I'm here to help make sure it's all a smooth transaction. Hope we can help solve the problem for a lot of clients out there.
It's a great problem solver when it works, guys. It works really, really well. All right. Thanks to the audience here. Thanks, TJ, for joining us today. Appreciate it very much. Chat with you next time.